The studio lights were perfect. The audience was electric. And Taylor Swift was sitting across from Jimmy Kimmel in that iconic red chair, looking every bit the global superstar she'd become. But in the next 3 minutes, something would happen that would remind everyone in that room and millions watching at home that sometimes the most powerful moments have nothing to do with fame and everything to do with the human heart. It was a Tuesday night in Hollywood, and Jimmy Kimmel Live was buzzing with the kind of energy that only comes when music's biggest star graces your stage. Taylor Swift, in an elegant black dress that sparkled under the studio lights, had just finished performing her latest single to thunderous applause. Now she sat across from Jimmy, that warm smile lighting up the entire studio. "Taylor Swift, everybody," Jimmy announced, and the audience erupted. "Thank you for being here. That performance was absolutely incredible." "Thank you for having me," Taylor said, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. "I always love being here." Jimmy leaned forward in his chair. "So, Midnight Rain is your new single, and fans are already calling it one of your most emotional songs yet. What inspired it?" Taylor's expression grew thoughtful. "It's about those moments when you realize that sometimes the people we love the most are fighting battles we can't see. It's about being there for someone even when you feel helpless." The audience was hanging on every word, and Jimmy was settling into what he expected to be a standard but engaging interview with one of music's most articulate stars. "That's beautiful," Jimmy said. "And I know your fans connect so deeply with that message. Actually, speaking of fans, we always love having Swifties in our audience. Are there any out there tonight?" The studio erupted with screams and cheers. Signs went up, friendship bracelets were waved, and the camera panned across rows of devoted fans who had waited hours just to be in the same room as their idol. Jimmy was grinning, feeding off the energy. Okay, I can see we have some passionate fans here. Anyone want to share what Taylor's music means to them?" Hands shot up throughout the audience. Jimmy's eyes scanned the crowd, looking for the right person to bring into the conversation. That's when he spotted her. 4th row, slightly to the left. A young girl, maybe 16, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wasn't screaming or waving like the others. She was just sitting there, staring at Taylor with an expression Jimmy couldn't quite read. There was something in her eyes, a mixture of awe and something deeper, something sadder. "You," Jimmy said, pointing to her. "Young lady in the blue sweater. What's your name?" The girl stood up slowly, and Jimmy noticed her hands were shaking slightly. "Emma," she said, her voice barely audible above the studio noise. "Emma. And how long have you been a Taylor Swift fan?" Emma looked directly at Taylor, and for a moment, something passed between them. Taylor leaned forward slightly, sensing something in the girl's demeanor. "Since I was 8, Emma said. "But I'm not here for me." The energy in the room shifted slightly. Jimmy's smile faltered just a bit. "Oh, who are you here for?" Emma's composure started to crack. She looked down at her hands, then back up at Taylor. "My mom. She was supposed to be here with me." Jimmy set his cards down. The audience grew quieter, sensing that this wasn't going in the direction of a typical fan interaction. "Was supposed to be?" Jimmy asked gently. Emma nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "She died 3 weeks ago. Cancer. Stage 4, pancreatic cancer." The studio fell completely silent. Taylor's hand went to her chest, and Jimmy felt his throat tighten. "Emma," Jimmy said softly, "I'm so sorry." "She was 42, Emma continued, her voice getting stronger even as tears began to fall. and she was the biggest Taylor Swift fan in the world. Bigger than me, even. She had every album, knew every lyric, went to every concert she could afford. Taylor was crying now, too, openly, not caring about the cameras or the makeup or anything except this brave girl standing in front of her. Emma looked directly at Taylor. When she got sick, when the chemo made her too weak to do anything else, we would lie in bed together and listen to your music, every day. For 8 months, your songs were what got us through. The audience was completely silent now. Even the camera operators seemed to be holding their breath. The doctors gave her 2 months, Emma said. She lived for 8 because she said she had to get tickets to this show. She said she had to meet you, had to tell you what your music meant to our family. She worked extra shifts at the diner, even when she could barely stand, to save money for these tickets. Jimmy wiped his eyes, not even trying to hide his emotion anymore. Taylor had her hands pressed to her face, shoulders shaking. 3 weeks ago, the night before she died, she was so weak she could barely speak, Emma continued. But she made me promise that I would still come, that I would still use the tickets, that I would tell Taylor Swift that her music kept us together when everything else was falling apart. Emma's voice broke completely now. She said, "Emma, you tell her that when I couldn't find the words to tell you I love you, I played Soon You'll Get Better. When I was scared about leaving you alone, I played Ronan. When I wanted you to remember that I'll always be with you, I played Forever Winter." You tell her that her music was our language when we didn't have words. That's when Taylor Swift did something she'd never done in her entire career. She stood up from her chair, walked directly to Emma, and without hesitation, climbed down from the stage into the audience. Jimmy watched in amazement as the biggest star in the world made her way to a grieving 16-year-old girl and pulled her into the tightest hug anyone had ever seen. "What was your mom's name?" Taylor whispered, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. "Sarah," Emma sobbed into Taylor's shoulder. "Sarah Chen." Taylor held Emma tighter. "Emma, I want you to know something. Your mom isn't gone. She's right here, in this room, in this moment. I can feel her love for you. It's so strong it's practically radiating from you." The studio erupted in applause, but Taylor held up her hand. She wasn't finished. "Sarah Chen," Taylor said, looking directly into the camera. "I hear you. I hear your love. I hear your strength. I hear your message. And Emma, your mom didn't just give you tickets to a show. She gave you a mission. She wanted me to know that music matters, that songs can be medicine, that art can hold families together when everything else falls apart." Taylor turned to Jimmy, who was now standing at the edge of the stage, completely caught up in the moment. "Jimmy, would it be okay if we did something special here?" Jimmy nodded, not trusting his voice to speak. Taylor looked back at Emma. "What was your mom's favorite song?" "Soon You'll Get Better," Emma said immediately. "She said it was like you wrote it for us." Taylor nodded, understanding. She took Emma's hand and led her back toward the stage. "Then that's what we're going to sing. Together. Right now. For Sarah." The studio watched in amazement as Taylor Swift helped a grieving teenage fan onto the stage of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The band, without being asked, quietly began the opening notes of Soon You'll Get Better. Taylor started singing, her voice pure and clear, but when she got to the chorus, she gestured for Emma to join her. And Emma, this brave girl who had lost everything but still showed up to honor her mother's wish, sang alongside her idol. The audience wasn't just crying now. They were experiencing something transcendent. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was healing happening in real time. When the song ended, Taylor kept hold of Emma's hand. "Emma," she said, "I want you to know that every time I sing this song from now on, I'm going to think of Sarah. I'm going to think of your love for each other. And I want you to promise me something." Emma nodded, unable to speak. "Promise me that whenever you miss her, whenever it feels like too much, you'll put on our song. Because now it's not just my song anymore. It's yours and Sarah's, and mine. It's ours." Jimmy wiped his eyes as he walked over to both of them. "Emma, can I ask you something?" She nodded. "What do you think your mom would say if she could see this moment?" Emma smiled through her tears, and for the first time that night, she looked like the 16-year-old girl she was. She'd probably say, "I told you Taylor Swift was magic." The studio erupted in laughter and applause, the kind that comes from hearts that have been broken open and put back together in the same moment. After the show, Taylor spent an hour with Emma backstage. She gave her a guitar, signed everything Emma owned, and exchanged phone numbers. But more importantly, she listened as Emma shared stories about Sarah, her terrible cooking, her obsession with Taylor's cats, her dream of opening her own restaurant. "Your mom sounds incredible," Taylor said as they said goodbye. "And Emma, the way you honored her tonight, the courage it took to get up there and share your story, that's all her. That's Sarah's strength living in you." 6 months later, when Taylor announced her next tour, she dedicated the entire show to all the Sarahs out there and the Emmas who keep their love alive through music. Emma was in the front row that night, wearing a t-shirt that said "Sarah's Girl" and singing every word. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show up for someone who can't show up for themselves. Sometimes a promise to a dying mother becomes a moment that changes everyone who witnesses it. And sometimes, when words aren't enough, music becomes the bridge between heartbreak and healing. That's not just entertainment. That's grace. That's what it means to use your platform for something bigger than yourself. That's what happens when genuine human connection breaks through all the lights and cameras and reminds us why music exists in the first place.